Awesome, awesome, awesome. My favorite selections when it comes to thinking about fathers, moguls. My father passed 3 years ago. He is outstanding. In fact, for birthdays, instead of giving us toys, etc., he would give us land. So he gave me a piece of land. I think I was like 20 years old, and I was able to sell that land to start God's U. And so, you know, that's the significance. That's when you have a real father, you know, a visionary, a mogul. My father ended his probably 5th grade. He ended his education because his parents sent him out to work. And what he did is, once he got established, he then would hire university professors to come into his office, and they taught him everything so that he could read, write, do math, check his accountant, and do everything else. And my father still, of all of his brothers and sisters and all of his children, is the wealthiest. Brilliant man. The largest transportation owner and operator in the entire Caribbean. Just a mover and shaker and a pioneer. And that is why, you know, people said to me, why don't you be like everybody else and have a women's network? And it's all about women, it's about girls. I said, child, did you meet my father? Oh, no, 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 no. My father set the same foundation as my brothers for me and for my sisters. We went to Columbia, University of the West Indies, Georgetown, University of Florida. He made sure that all of his children had an equal opportunity. And those are the kind of men that we want. And that's what I see in front of me here as leaders at God's U. And yes, we had another gentleman who was supposed to moderate. And when he wasn't able to do whatever, I was going to moderate. And my father, his spirit said, girl, stop it. Find somebody else, find a male. These males need to see another male. And here it is, we were able to get our wonderful moderator at the last minute, Chaplain Thaddeus Randolph. So I'm so excited. He's going to introduce himself. He's going to read his short bio to you, and then he is going to move on with the men in this group. So thank you so much, gentlemen. Please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Moore. God bless you, and thank you for His Excellency Dakar. Bless you guys. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm just a blessing to be here tonight. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to these men and to moderate on tonight. And we're going to get started. My name is Chaplain Designee Thaddeus Randolph. I am the CEO and founder of Total Grace Solutions LLC. It is a mentoring and coaching for couples and individuals. And I have over 35 years of experience in that, along with my wife. I also have 30 years of experience of ministering in the jails, teaching Bible study, teaching life skills to those who are incarcerated as well. And I'm just excited to be here on tonight. I also have a master's degree in pastoral counseling from Liberty University. So I'm excited tonight to talk about these awesome men of God, these powerhouse men of God, about leaving legacy, unleashing legacy successfully in our time. So I want to open up and start with, begin with, talk about who our panelists have. I have with me tonight, I have Dr. Charlie Chuck Barlow with us tonight. I have Dr., you'll have to forgive me some of the names, Dr. John, Chaplain Dr. John Osorin. I think I got that right. So we're going to talk about tonight. I want you guys to, I'm going to read your bio, then you can come in and tell. I'm going to start with Chuck Brown. I can find your bio. Talk a little bit about Mr. Chuck Brown. Dr. Charlie Chuck Brown Marlowe is a chaplain, is the co-founder executive director of SOSSI, Saving Our Sons and Sisters International in 2009. He is the graduate of Benjamin E. Mays High School. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, Finance, and Marketing. from Morris Brown College and a Master's of Science degree in Neuroscience. Learning and teaching brain sport from Nova Southeastern University. Chuck earned his chaplain license from Godzoo and recruited his mother to join him in the program. Chuck was invited to participate in the inaugural City of South Fulton Office of Chaplaincy, Chaplain Training Education Program in November 2019, with the focus on the 5 branches of chaplaincy, fire, police, government, community, and justice. And Chuck Barlow completed his training and his certification was sworn in December of 2020, serving as the youngest chaplain on the team. During the pandemic 2021, he understood the importance of upskilling and enrolled in the inaugural Accelerate Atlanta University program and earned his Microsoft 360 Fundamental Certification, became a Microsoft nonprofit partner, and joined in the Microsoft Nonprofit Tech Acceleration for Black and African Communities program. We're thankful for Dr. Charlie Chuck Barlow being with us tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. We also have on our panel tonight, we have Dr. Chaplain John Osaren.
Osaren.
Huh? How I say it?
John Osaren.
Osaren. All right.
Good.
I got it now. I got it now. We thank you for joining us on tonight. Give me 1 minute. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little about yourself.
Very good. Thank you so much, Thaddeus Randolph. I'm a chaplain. That is the first thing I have to say. And I'm grateful for that. And again, for being in your midst. I've seen you before as a moderator, and I understand that you are an able one. So I am really ready that the Lord will help me with everything that I got to be able to express myself before you today.
All right.
Actually, I'm a pastor, and apart from being a chaplain, I'm also a technology and business advisor. I schooled in Russia with my PhD, and that not being enough, I saw that there is a need to go higher towards a noble calling. Then I became a pastor, and you cannot believe indeed that the real thing is one thing to be intellectually mature, but it's quite another thing again to be spiritually one. I got that when I became a pastor, and now that I became a chaplain, I saw a different angle, that even as a pastor, you need your heart to be upright. Yes. And once your heart is upright, it can't be able to move into the life of people. Yeah. So quickly, I really want to tell you that actually it's one thing to move around people, it's one thing to move into the heart of people.
Hold your thought there, Dr. Orange. I want to introduce our other panelists. I don't want to forget about, we have one more panelist. We have Murad Muhammad. I want to introduce him. Murad Muhammad he has an entrepreneurial spirit beginning at the age of 15 years old, opening a steak and shake restaurant that grew into 3 mobile steak and shake trucks. And due to his martial arts expertise, he was selected to be bodyguard of the renowned world heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali for 12 years. This introduction to the sport of boxing grew his interest, which enabled him to introduce and promote the sport of boxing behind the prison walls in New Jersey State Prison in Rohey, New Jersey, with exclusively to utilize the sport in the rehabilitation of inmates in all the New Jersey prisons. Muhammad is a promoted the sport of boxing, also enabled him to utilize his entrepreneurial skills by creating a $49.95 for pay-per-view and launching the Jordan brand and the launching of the Jordan brand. He's promoted 50 world champions. A few of his world-renowned champions are Larry Holmes, Roy Jones Jr., and Manny Pacquiao. So we are excited to have the world-renowned Mr. Murad Muhammad as a panelist also on tonight. So tonight we'll talk about for as men of God, unleashing legacy successfully. And how do we do that? How are we unleashing our legacy, building a legacy, passing it down, that legacy to others? How did you build? What helped you, and how? What was the thing that helped you build? And tell us about your point of view. Give us what you think about when you talk about unleashing your legacy successfully. We'll start with Dr. Chuck Barlow. Tell us what does that mean to you?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Excited about everyone taking this next step. I think it's very important for us to look back to those who have seeded into us. We've all had mentors and coaches in our lives, and I definitely have to take my hats off to my own father and a lot of my coaches. Like, it wasn't just my father who had that great impact on me. I could name about 50 to 100 men who've had a great impact on my life. Even teachers. I've had teachers that have given me an opportunity to travel with them as a teenager out of the country as an international ambassador. So I think it's a collection of experiences. It's a collection of relationships, but it's also those coaches and mentors who didn't always agree with what you were doing at the time, but understood that they needed to plant a seed, and with a little bit of guidance, right? We know that iron sharpens iron. So I think it's just important for us to remember those who've gone before us, who planted seeds to trees that we've been able to sit under and be able to gain this knowledge, and to be able to be in this opportunity, not only to learn and grow personally, but I think as a chaplain and being a doctor of philosophy, we have now gained some ground in some other areas. And it's important for us to share some of our challenges that we've had with other people, because some people need to understand that we don't struggle because we're strong. We are strong because we have struggled and overcome.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about, like you said, sharing and sharing what's been poured into you, not on keeping it all to yourself. And I think that's important for us, especially as men, to not try to keep all that people have poured into us, because someone helped us, someone mentored us, and not hold that all in, but to actually share it, to pass it along to someone else, whether it be our own children, whether it be to our community, whether it be to young people in our community, but passing on that legacy, passing on what we have learned on to the next generation. Also, Dr. Oren, I want you to give 1 minute. In 1 minute, tell me, when you think of men of God unleashing legacy, what does that mean to you?
Actually, it means everything to me. It's to me like a relay race that has to be passed on until the last runner is able to break through the curtain or the line, reach the finishing line.
Yeah.
So I also know that God himself has a finishing line for every person by purpose. And also God has a plan and a purpose for this world and for the kingdom of God. So he has passed it on through Jesus Christ, actually to us, to the church, and expecting the church also to pass it on from one generation to the other generation until again we are able to meet. And this is one thing I always know when it comes to, quickly, I just say, come to death when I see that our chancellor's mom passed away. There is one thing I always believe, that that baton that was passed on one day again will be revealed through fellowship in heaven. I believe we shall see her again and we shall fellowship together again. That actually is what we call passing it on from one generation to another generation until we all meet again. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Pass it along till we all meet again.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. And Chaplain Dr. Murad Muhammad, give in 1 minute, what do you, when you think of leaving a legacy, unleashing a legacy successfully, what does that mean to you?
A gift from God. We say with God's name, the merciful benefactor. We have to understand that in Revelation, they use a phrase, study from the cradle to study from the cradle to the grave. And people misunderstood that. They thought that was the little baby in the crib is our minds. We're still in the crib and we're being taught by God himself. And we have blessings because you had a song on by Whitney Houston. I was 10 years old and I said I wanted to go to Madison Square Garden. I did it. I said I wanted to go to Radio City Music Hall, and who did I invite? Whitney Houston. And she sung the Star Spangled Banner for me. And when it was over, I made Sports Illustrated. Now, I never knew I would make Sports Illustrated. I don't play sports. That's a gift from God. Anything that you see is unbelievable is the will of God. And so we have to teach the youth. The youth are our children. They are the future. And we have to give back. When you're drinking water, you have to give it back. You become not giving back what God has given us. Air to breathe, God gives us that. We have to give it back. The food we eat, we have to give it back. That's what God wants from us. And we are duty bound to give back. But we in heaven as we speak. You don't have to die to go to heaven. You're in heaven while we speak because we are trying to get to paradise. Paradise is right here on earth. That's my humble opinion.
I want to introduce to our panel Chief Justice Dr. Lance Jones. Chaplain, I want to thank him for joining us. I want to read his bio. He is the founder of the Jones Group of Business. Lance Adrian Jones Sr., who grew up in Newark, New Jersey, to federal civil court servant Henrietta Jones and civil rights leader Reverend Boyd Cantrell of Newark, New Jersey. He is a renowned security expert and seasoned entrepreneur with over 40 years of experience in serving in the security, law enforcement, and correctional industry. He is reverent and sought after for his expertise. He is a graduate of the U.S. Federal Law Enforcement Training Center at Glencoe, Georgia, Rockingham County College, BLT police program, and the Wake College police investigation program, to mention a few. Mr. Jones' intense training and experience has enabled him to serve his clients at the highest levels of political and corporate leadership. Having served various entertainers, political and corporate leaders across the U.S., his most notable achievements include serving the U.S. President Barack Obama's Democratic Convention twice during both elections. Congresswoman Alma Adams approved to serve the Republican Convention of President Trump. However, was subsequently invited by President Joe Biden to attend his inauguration in 2021, accompanied by Congresswoman Dr. Alma Adams. Lance Jones Sr. serves as the Executive Board Director, Board Member of Global Ambassador of Africa's Brian Bank since 2019, Chapter President of the North State Law Enforcement Association, the country's oldest African-American police union, a member of the U.S. State Department, OSAC, International County Counsel, former chapter president of the Fuller Dudley Mastermind Business Group, and served as a WDRB iHeartRadio host and podcast of the Lance Jones Show. In 2007, while serving with the state of North Carolina, he launched the first of his businesses, Safe and Secure Worldwide Production Group. The company was formed to ensure the safety and security of business concerns across America and abroad, to include executive protection for high school clients. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Lance Jones, chaplain. Sir, I wanted to ask you, as I've asked the other gentlemen, in 1 minute, just when we talk about unleashing, men of God, unleashing legacy successfully, in about a minute, tell us, what does that mean to you, and how can we apply that today?
Thank you, dear Brother Randall, and all the brothers for being here, Brother Muhammad and Brother John, Dr. John. We all come from an infinity of time. Then we're born, we go back into an infinity of time. The question is, what do we do with the time that we have?
Yes.
How do we make an impact? Not just on our personal lives and the family lives, but then the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that part of the mission for us as men is to take our communities back. Just do God's work. Just become men again. The young man out there may not be my biological son, but he's indeed my son. And I think we need to get back just to the neighborhood and loving each other again. Many of our problems can be solved. We can solve them ourselves if we as the men would just take charge of our homes, ourselves first, our minds, bodies, then our homes, our communities. We can straighten this thing out, irrespective of political leaning, your faith tradition. Our challenges are not because we're a Muslim or a Jew or this or Christian. The one challenge we have is our disunity. Despite our $1.7 trillion a year that we spend, we can change this thing overnight. But I will leave it there and just say that our unity is sufficient. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on being the best Lance that I can be for me, my children, our people. And let's do God's work. Let's turn this thing around. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. I want to ask a question. Dr. John Ozerin Wynn, he talked about passing the baton. And I want to pose this question to each of you. We're talking about leaving a legacy successfully. And I think it's important for us to pass that baton to the next generation, whoever it may be. But we have to do it successfully. You talked about doing it successfully. So what do you think are some of the challenges that come with passing a legacy down? What are you in your expertise, what do you think are some of the challenges to passing it down? What are some of the challenges that we're faced with? Anyone can start.
I'll jump in and just say this real quick, that Michael Jackson said it best. Starts with the man in the mirror.
Yes, sir.
And we have to do a deep dive into our own thinking, that false thinking, false concepts. Get back to the community. So let's start with ourselves. When I clean up, then I can approach you and shake your hand as my brother. I don't see an enemy. I don't see a stranger. I see a Black man who's going through some of the same challenges that we're going through in Africa and throughout the world. It's not because I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim or this or that. It's the color of our skin. And that should be the unifying factor moving forward. Thank you.
I'd just like to add that I think it's just important for us to remember that a painter, for example, an artist, doesn't see a white canvas. They see a masterpiece waiting to happen. Or a sculptor does not see just a piece of rock. They see material that can be shaped and formed into something that other people can appreciate. What we have to do is we have to see value in every aspect of people in our communities. Many of us who are successful now didn't start off this way. We had some bumps in the road and people took time to nurture us, to get us back on the right track. And I think it's important that we have people who, like coaches, know that you're going to get in the game and make a mistake, but willing to coach you back and correct you. They said one of the scriptures talks about correctness. Correction is a part of the process. And if we don't make ourselves available to young people, not just because they're in trouble, but just making yourself available, period, is very important. Many of us are very busy, but we still can make it take time. And I think that's very important because all of the men on this call, I know there were men who took time to show us and tell us things. And so I think we got to all ask ourselves, everybody said on the call today, the man in the mirror, it starts with you, right? But it also starts with us holding each other accountable and being able to ask others and provide space for others to step forward with their skills and talents to share and pass on the legacy, not just in your family, because somebody in your family may not necessarily get the baton, but pass it on that so somebody will.
Awesome. How about you, Chaplain?
Thank you. Oh. Thank you so much. So I'm just taking from what Dr. Chooks has said and what Chief Lance Jones have said, and then we just harmonize it and take it forward from there. So actually, there's something when you talk about value, so we have to know which type of value are we promoting or are we passing on. So, and as Thaddeus said something about influence, I mean, at the beginning, yes, that is very, very key. How influential are you as a parent to your children? And then how will your children take it from there and influence the next generation? Using that criteria influence. There are other ones, maybe other values like income and values like impact, but I just want to use the word influence. Look, in any way to take this, I can see a very big gap, like the question he asked. I see a big gap actually from the father to children. And I started wondering why the gap. And I saw that the gap somehow is attached to technology. Like the way I was when I went to school and the way I was influenced by my teachers, there was nothing like Zoom, not like even cell phone and all that. But now you see cell phone in the street everywhere. And you see some elderly people too, not even able to communicate. So I see that for us, like in the Bible, for us to be able to pass this through, we must be able to possess the gates, which there are certain gates that we must possess. Possess the gates of our enemy, anything that is hindering us from really passing this, we must be able to know how it can be possessed. Then that is one way we can close this gap. And then again, with wealth, with income, if you are not wealthy, you are poor, and you think you will be able to move in this generation, it's going to be difficult. This is another thing. If you're not wealthy, you need to be wealthy. You need to have that income. And then again, intellectually, yes, you need to have the education, especially the teaching. When a teaching priest, wherever a teaching priest is missing, surely there's going to be a gap. When I say teaching, they have the method, they are able to teach the children, and the children will be able to teach the next. That is how leadership is formed, and that is how we are able to move from one phase to the other. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And Chaplain Murad Muhammad, what do you think is the challenges we face with passing on our legacy, passing the baton to the next generation?
You said one thing that's very profound about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson came to me for "This Is It."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, my grandmother, who was Jewish, she left Germany, came through Poland, went to Canada, and landed on the Indian reservation. And she said, we are a mirror of one another. I never forgot that. There's no separation. We are one human being. We are created from Adam. And Adam, whether we like it or not, is our mother and father, and that's all human beings. You can't separate it. If you separate it, you're not going anywhere. And here we have a female. Now we all men speaking. When I speak about the female also. Because if we separate it, then you separate Eve from Adam. There's no separation. We are minds, and we all got that ability. From the neck down, we're different. But we are mentally capable of doing something that a female created. That's the chancellor. She created that, why I gravitated to her, because that's mama. Mama gives us birth. I don't care how old you are, where you come from, you got to come through that tunnel. So we separate. This is what's problem. We men go our way and the female goes the other way. That's not so. This university is trying to create that we all come together collectively. And Jesus said it. He said, I'm gonna leave you my mother behind. And we thought it was this one woman called Mary. No, talking about my mother, the women that's listening to us right now. Some that time she's gonna give birth to us men to bring the religious people and walks of life, just bring the human being together as one. That's my humble opinion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think the balance of time that we have is, I'm going to give one of the things I think the challenges that we have is passing the baton is finding those individuals that have the desire to go forth and to do better and to want to do great things in life. I'm on this illustrious panel with all these all you have great accomplishments and great things that you have done. But I think about all that experience and all the accomplishments that you have. How can we is just getting that down to the next person, to the next generation, a young person that's coming behind you. Don't go away with all of that on the inside of you, passing that down. Passing that baton some kind of way, whether it's writing a book, whether it's teaching a class, whether it's just giving some advice, but having all that on the inside of you, and don't go away, don't go on to glory with all that knowledge and all that experience and all that stuff wrapped on the inside of you. We're getting ready to wrap up, but I want each of you to give me just give me your final thoughts, 1 minute, final thoughts, and then we'll wrap our discussion up for tonight. This time we'll start with Dr. John Osserin-Wren. We'll ask you to give us, in 1 minute, give us your final thoughts on this subject of tonight.
Good. I love my mentor of blessed memory, Miles Monroe. He said, the graveyard is today one of the richest places and where values are buried. And then the reason actually is because another fear you have a gift inside of you, you are discounting it. You are afraid that the government will say something. You are afraid that your friend or your brother will say, hey, something. God deposited it for you. Move with faith and declare it. Thank God for God's soul. Be able to go to a Muslim. Be able to go to a Hindu. You see, when the Bible says, go into the world and preach the gospel, it didn't say go around the world. You must go into the Hindus. Enter into their center.
Yes.
Go to the Muslim, enter into the center and drop the value, preposition that you have, that God gave to you, and let him take it from there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I like that. Go into the world, not go around it, but go into the world, preach the gospel. We have Chaplain Murad Muhammad, sir. Can you give us your conclusion on this subject in 1 minute?
My mother, she told me, you do for yourself, you only get 1 for 1. If you do something for others, you get 1,000 to 1. I like those odds. Well, and that's why I am saying that we have to come together, because only thing reaches God is faith.
Yes.
If you don't have faith, you will never be successful. And if in fact you make $1 billion and you don't have a wife, you left $1 billion behind, because you'd have made more. So we need to realize that the brother from Newark, I respect him highly, but my picture sits over all these men that wear the bulletproof vests. I gave money to make sure they had their vests. I gave money to help all of the state troopers as well as the sheriff department, that my picture sits over his head. For what reason? Love, M-O-N-E-Y. We need to find this, and collectively, we can do this. As you all are saying, I respect your words and your thoughts. I feel your heart. If we will unite, we can do this overnight and give back to our children, because our children is the future. I just want to leave you with one thing. I taught my children education. And my son went into West Florida, the highest of all the grammar. They did a 60. My son did 95, and he was teaching the seniors grammar. So don't tell us they don't have a gift. If you teach, you'll be successful. God willing.
All right, we'll go to Chapter in Chief, Dr. Lance Jones. You're next, sir.
Yes, sir, brother. Well, thank you for this opportunity again, man. Anytime I get to talk to the brothers, warms my heart. That's where most of my work is. I mean, I have 4 boys and a daughter, and I've been in all kinds of men situations where I've talked to men in different backgrounds and religious beliefs, and and there's only one God. He was wise enough to make Islam and Christianity and Judaism, because he knew everybody wasn't going to go the same way. So we divide ourselves on these false concepts, brothers. We use the word if. If we come together. We're coming together. This is an example of it.
Yeah.
So you speak of things as though they are.
Yeah.
And there's many of us, now the media is not going to show us around the world united. But how many went to Africa back in 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
How many went to Ghana? 2 million of us. I can imagine in the Geneva conference, in the Berlin conference, when they formed this country and separated us and brought us here, those who were at that Berlin conference is probably rolling over in their grave right now. You mean these Black folks going back to where we brought them from? So the hand of God is moving. We're not today where we were 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and we won't be tomorrow where we are today because of what you spoke of there, Brother Randolph, Brother Kanye West, Kyrie. These are not real articulate brothers, but they stood up on a principle of faith and challenged a nation. What if we all had that vigor? What if we stood behind them in the rightness, not if they said something, how they said it, never mind all that.
Yeah.
But if they are right,
yeah,
in what they said,
yeah,
and Jay-Z and us and the nation, and we stood with our brothers, we would change this thing overnight. But nobody has the vision. When Minister Farrakhan said we're going to take 2 million men to Washington, D.C.,
yeah,
what happened?
Yeah.
We changed the nation overnight.
Overnight.
He doesn't have to be there. He's not a solo artist.
No.
This is the choir, brothers.
Yeah.
So when you said at the last meeting, dear Brother Randolph, what would you do if you had 10,000 men? I said, bring them. Bring them. We're going to rejoice. We're going to make some new men that day. That when we come home, our women will be proud of us, shedding tears and cheering us, man. That's our job today. And but I'll leave it there. I get excited. I apologize. I love you, soldier. Let's go to work.
Let's go to work.
Let's shake this thing up in God's name, man.
Amen.
Shake it up.
Amen.
Yeah, we got to go out here and make some noise, man. It's too quiet, brother.
Yeah.
We just spoke to some brilliant children of ours, man.
Yes.
Oh my God, bro. They need to see some soldiers too, bro.
Yes, sir.
Huh? I'm not talking about fighting and all that foolishness. Hell, I've done none of that for 40 years. Yeah. But I'm saying, let's go now. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it.
Let's go get on the front line.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir. And we'll go with Chaplain Dr. Charlie Chuck Barlow Jr., sir.
I like to, first of all, I just want to shout out all the men on the panel tonight and guys, you for providing this opportunity for each and every one of us.
Yes.
But I gotta go back to Proverbs. Proverbs lays it out for us. Like we got to be more disciplined. We've got a little too relaxed. We've gotten a little too chill, and things are happening, and we're trying to react to them instead of respond the way that God has already designed for us to engage. We want these quick fix microwave solutions. It's not what God is going to allow. Hosea speaks about it as well. And then when you talk about, well, you know, some people say, well, I'm in fear because of all the violence. Well, then that's when you turn to Ephesians chapter 6. And God said, put on the whole armor, because you are fighting against these powers and principalities and wickedness, rulers of this world. We're not necessarily in heaven yet, we're not out of it yet. We still got some fighting to do. Our children are being taken from us right in front of our eyes. And we must tool up, go back to the book, go back and not just eat food, but start eating the word again. Because there's some imbalance. We got to go back to Titus chapter 2, where it talks about everybody's behavior and responsibility in the family as a father, a mother, a daughter, a son. We have to reintroduce the principles that God has founded this earth on if we're going to bring order back to it. Good to Great is another book by Jim Collins, which talks about going from level 4 leadership to level 5. We got to stop celebrating just ourselves at the top of our organizations. Who are we bringing with us? Who are we sharing that succession leadership with? And then lastly, I'll leave you with this, was 2 more books. One is The Productive Person. When I was trying to figure out how I can be successful, some of us don't give ourselves enough time to complete things and complete projects. A lot of things are left open. We have to be focused on completion and finishing, and stop leaving to the next generation the problems of the past, because they're going to have their own issues that they have to deal with. And then lastly, this book that I just finished reading called U Squared. It talks about making quantum leaps. What we talked about tonight and what we talked about in the communities of colors and indigenous communities, we talk about quantum leaps. Many of us didn't necessarily follow the 1 through 10 steps to get to where we are. Some of us were not even allowed to be in some of these rooms. We had to get in, go through the window. We had to go through the back door. And so I think it's important for us to just realize that iron sharpen iron, and we have to just remember that. And sometimes the best thing that you can do, as we talk about passing the legacy
Yes.
to the next generation, is God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much. Because what I've learned in my work is that sometimes when you listen, the person you're actually trying to help will tell you the solution. They just need you to listen long enough to give it back to them. So thank you all. I've enjoyed this panel tonight and look forward to working with you all in the future. And shout out to guys, you and their team, for all the phenomenal work they're doing, not just here in the USA, but around the world. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you to all you gentlemen on this distinguished panel, to Dr. John Osarin, chaplain, and we thank you for Chaplain Dr. Charlie Chuck Barlow Jr. We thank you for Chaplain Dr. Chief Lance Jones and Chaplain Muhammad. We thank you all of you for sharing your insight and your forethought. We thank you for your experience, sharing your experiences and all that we do. Just to leave one thing I would say before we leave is that in Proverbs, Solomon said, when I was a child, my father taught me. And I think that's one thing that we can leave with us, is just teach, to train, to pass that baton to the next generation. All of us have a lot of experience. We have a lot of knowledge. Like what Les Brown said, don't die empty. Share that knowledge, pass that baton to the next generation, pass it on to the next person, so that they too can run with what you have given and passed down to them. And that's this time I give it back to Chancellor and to His Excellency on the panel tonight. Bless you.
Awesome. This was outstanding. You have to always listen to your parents. His Holy Spirit will tell you the right thing to do. It was a great, outstanding moderator, and each of the panelists were just out of this world. Point, sharp, handsome. I mean, when we play this on Facebook and YouTube, what's going to happen? It's going to go viral. You guys did it. You guys absolutely did it. Thank you so